All right, how's everyone doing today? We got Penn State safety Trent Gordon joining us today. Let's start with Mark Brennan with Fight On State. You get the first question. Go ahead.
Trent, thank you for doing this today. We appreciate your time.
No problem.
Hey, can you take us through the position change? How did it come up? When did it come up? And how has it gone so far, considering you didn't have the luxury of spring ball?
Yes. So the first person that brought it up to me was actually Coach Smith. It was during winter workouts last semester. So he kind of brought the idea to me, said, "Hey, Trent, we're going to be moving you to safety." And if that was comfortable for me, since I played it in high school, I said yes, because, that's not an unfamiliar position for me. So Coach T was the one that suggested the position change. And then, of course, I talked to Coach Banks, and Coach Banks thought it was a great idea. They all thought that it was the best fit for me. And then from then on, I had to go see Coach Pry. He talked to me as well. He said kind of the same things that Coach Smith and Coach Banks were saying to me. And then I talked to Coach Franklin about it. And then we all kind of came to the decision that, moving to safety was actually one of the better decisions for me, because it allows me to play, the position that I played in high school, which I was more comfortable with anyways. And it gives me a little bit more opportunity to freely play.
Next question is Donnie Collins with the Times-Tribune.
Hi, Trent. Why do you think it was the best fit for you to move to safety? And what about your skill set kind of matches up and makes you more comfortable with safety than say, cornerback?
Yeah, good question. So pretty much like I said, I already played the position in high school, so I'm very, very comfortable with doing it. And then on top of that, being at safety, it just kind of builds on my skill set as corner. Now I can be more physical. Now I can play a lot more faster because I can see everything more clearly now, being at, the farthest level of the secondary. So I can pretty much see everything. So it allows me to kind of dissect the play and be able to react quicker than what I would be as a corner. So, that kind of enhances, being a safety, it enhances my skill set as a corner. So it was just a really, really good fit for me at the time.
Let's go to Greg Pickle with Penn Live.
Hi, Trent. How are you? Thanks for your time today.
Great.
Good. Hey, correct me if I'm wrong, but just from the chest up, it looks like you put some muscle on, some weight on. Are you a little bit bigger now to play safety? And if so, how much? And how did you go about that process, without being on campus?
I have. So as the position changed, they did tell me, "Hey, Trent, we're going to ask you, do you feel comfortable with putting on pounds?" They don't say we need you to be this specific weight. They say, "Do you feel comfortable playing at this weight?" Just to, ease my mind for it. And then, of course, being a corner, I didn't really have to deal with running backs as much. And, I was kind of good playing at 185, but not anymore as a safety. I had to really look at things and say, if you want to hit the big guys, it's time for you to put on some pounds. And I did that. I put on at least 10. So right now I'm weighing 202, I believe. And before I was 185. So I kind of picked up the pounds pretty quickly, but I've definitely been managing it from a healthy standpoint, especially with the help of our nutritionist. So they pretty much got me at a good weight that I can play at. So yeah, I did pick up pounds and weight, good weight.
Tyler Donahue, Lions 247.
Hello, Trent. Thanks for the time.
Tyler.
When you talk about switching over to safety, 6 months later, you still haven't gotten a chance to practice at that position because of the situation. How do you still try to maintain your competition with guys like Brisker and Sutherland and Rudolph and Wade and the other players, Enzo Jennings? How are you able to kind of make an impact on the position battle without getting to the practice field at this point?
Well, what it is that I have to keep my head on a swivel pretty much in the classroom, like in our football meetings, just proving to Coach Banks that I know what I'm doing without actually being on the field. That just kind of gives him an indication that he can actually trust me, even though he hasn't actually seen what I've been able to do yet as a safety. You know, just being disciplined in our meetings is one thing about it. And then also we kind of just practice amongst each other at some of the local places around here. And, you know, that just helps me build on like safety footwork, you know, and then hitting and stuff like that. So just practicing with the guys on campus, it just kind of keeps me with them, keeps me up to speed with the safeties. And it hasn't really affected anything of my skill set so far. So I've been doing pretty good, keeping my footwork and all my safety skills on par with everybody else. So
Next up is Peter Terpstra with WTAJ.
Hey, what are you guys doing to, I don't know, keep it fun or light when you might not be able to hang out with all your teammates at once, or how do you pass the time?
Yeah, I would really have to say it's really boring right now. You know, everybody, whenever they go out, they have to wear a mask. You know, we're doing the best that we can to social distance, and we're just kind of trying to follow those rules outside of football, you know. So since then, it's been really, really boring. I don't really do much except for kind of stay in the house and then talk to my roommates. But I'd like to see, you know, other guys on the team. Obviously, I FaceTime them. We talk on the phone and everything here and there, and I see them during workouts. But outside of that, there's kind of minimal interaction with those guys because I've been trying to, you know, social distance and stuff.
Nubias Wilborn with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette.
Man, what's up, brother, man? Thank you for doing this, sir.
How about you?
Man, I'm fantastic, man. You know how I go. From there, just walk me through, you mentioned putting on weight. Were there any types of foods that maybe you had to try that you hadn't had, or what's been your food prep game like as far as preparing the types of foods you need?
Well, for me, I'm a guy that is already pretty lean, and I don't necessarily put on pounds that fast because I burn everything off. So a main component of my diet since then has really been a lot of pasta for me because that's just been making me, you know, just kind of let the weight stick to me. So that's kind of been a big part of my diet. And then also what I've been eating is a lot of fish. I don't necessarily know what that does to me, but I just know that I've really been moving a lot faster, a lot, you know, quicker and stuff. It's made me pretty lean, you know, the fish diet. So I'm gonna continue to do that. But yeah, for the most part, I've just been eating lots of pasta and fish just to keep me.
Next up is John Sauer with the Center Daily Times.
Hey, Trent, thanks for taking the time to do this. You mentioned playing safety in high school and sort of moving to corner once you got to Penn State. What did you learn in your time playing corner at Penn State that you can take with you back to playing safety again?
So being at corner for me was really a learning experience. You know, it taught me where my eyes should be. You know, it helped me with eye discipline. It helped me kind of further my knowledge as a safety and take that with me. So what I could see at corner, I can now see at safety pretty much. So it just kind of enhanced my my eye discipline. And then on top of that, it forces me pretty much to know where everybody else is on the field. Like I've had to dissect and learn everybody else's role on the field to see what they're doing. So it makes me know what I should be doing and how the defense should be run. So it just kind of helped me with little stuff like that.
Let's go to Audrey Snyder with The Athletic.
Trent, thanks for your time. Going back to your recruitment, Tim Banks was really involved with you. What do you think, or why is Tim an effective recruiter? What do you think makes him good at what he does in that regard?
I think that Coach Banks is really passionate about what he does. He actually cares about his players truly, and obviously so did my last corners coach, Coach Smith. They both do, you know, but Coach Banks, he really really puts his time into everybody individually, you know. And then on top of that, he just kind of has a charisma for it. He's very charming, and then he just kind of lures guys in with that because he's just such a real person. You know, he always keeps it true, and he's always real. So I think that's why he's a really good recruiter, just kind of the guy that he is. You know, a lot of people would like to flock to him and also talk to him, and that's kind of what I did too. So.
Mark Wogerich with SportsIllustrated.com.
Trent, hi. Again, thanks for your time. I was wondering if you could tell the story of your grandfather. It sounds like he has a pretty unique backstory in playing basketball in Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah, my grandfather. No one's actually asked me that question ever, actually. So my grandfather, I really didn't find out his backstory until probably maybe 5-6 years ago when we actually came up to a homecoming game at Oklahoma State University, and then that's where they were honoring him. I had no idea because no one told me anything. They wanted me to find out as a surprise. And so then all of these things that I found out about him, you know, him being the first Black player to play at Oklahoma State, I mean, it was just really surreal to me. And I didn't even know that he was just this serious dude there. I mean, everybody kind of knows him. He's a part of the basketball legacy there. And so me finding out about that, it was just really special for me because the grandfather that I know, he never really told any basketball stories. He was just kind of this guy that sat in his chair and didn't say much. You know, he was a family man. But then when I find out that second part of him, I was really pretty much astonished because he's really not worshipped, but he's welcome there at all times. So.
Joe Giuliano with the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Hey, Trent, thanks for your time. This will be your second question you've ever gotten about your grandfather playing basketball. But I just wondered what kind of things he told you. This was 1958, first, like you said, the first Black player. What did he tell you about how he was accepted or not accepted? How much pride did you take in his journey to get to that point? And how has that shaped, you know, what you think now of, you know, social issues, especially in this turbulent times?
So for him, it struck a chord with me knowing that he didn't have the best time in college, because obviously of all the segregation that was going on during that time. And so his transition to college was pretty rough, but I know that the guys on the team kept him sane because obviously, you know, for sports, we all consider each other as a brotherhood, or, you know, for the female sports, a sisterhood. So, you know, they just embraced him and he felt more at home the more that he was with his basketball team. And that kind of does the same thing for us. You know, I'm glad that I'm fortunate enough to not live in those types of times to where everything here is very intermixed, and Penn State does a great job of doing that. You know, they do a great job of respecting everybody here. And so I'm fortunate enough to not have to go through the experiences that my grandfather did. So I'm just really glad from that aspect.
We'll do another round of questions. Let's go. Mark Brennan with Fight on State.
Trent, it looks like things are pretty dicey in Texas with the COVID stuff. How difficult is it for you to be so far away from your family during this time? And is everybody okay with your family?
Yeah, thank you so much. My family is doing just fine in Texas. And I make sure that I call my family at least every day, you know, every other family member every day, because I just like to stay in contact with them to see, you know, what they're doing. And obviously I don't call them every day because I love to get, you know, those conversations about, you know, how was your week? What'd you do on this day? What you do on that day? So I prefer just not to call them every single day, just hearing the same thing over and over again. You know, I'm fine. You know, I want to hear about, you know, the special things that kind of went on throughout the week. So I continuously talk to them. And I know that the COVID situation is getting a lot worse. where they are, and I'm telling them, make sure you're social distancing, make sure you're wearing your mask, do the basic things to keep you guys safe, because you don't know who you're around when you go out. So I'm just making sure that they stay safe down there while I'm staying safe up here.
Let's go to Donnie Collins with the Times Tribune.
Hey, Trent, when you make a position switch, what's the transition like for you? Not playing, but maybe even socially, because you're going from one group of guys to another, one coach to another. What is that transition like mentally, socially, things like that?
The transition was actually no different at all. We all spend time around each other. The DBs, we all spend time around each other anyway. So really, it was just me being moved from the corners room to the safety room around dudes I already hang around. So really, nothing was different except for, the playbook wise. That was pretty much it. I had to learn the safety part of everything. Not like I didn't know it before, but the safety part of everything and the rest of the defense. That was legitimately the only change or hardship that I had to go through.
Greg Pickle with Penn Live.
Trent, another recruiting question for you, and it may be hard to do considering how long you've been on campus, but I think you visited Penn State 3 or 4 times, and prospects in this current cycle can't do that and haven't been able to sit in March. Just looking back at your recruitment, how many of things have played out differently if you weren't able to come to Penn State, and how important was the visits to campus in your decision?
I think that the visits to campus are actually pretty necessary on your decision, especially because for me, this is where I was going to live the rest of my life, for the next 4 years. So I had to see where I was going to live at, what the environment was going to be like, especially being thousands of miles away from home. So it was very critical for me to visit where I was going, especially being that far away from home. So I kind of feel for the guys for the recruits, that aren't allowed to visit the schools right now. And I hope that these situations kind of don't influence their decisions. They're like quick and haste decisions on where they want to go. I think they should really think about it. But for Penn State, I think that it was needed for me to take a trip up here. And then I don't think if COVID wouldn't have, happened during my years as a recruit, then I don't think that it would have influenced my decision to come to Penn State. I mean, they did so many things outside of me just visiting, calling every day, sending me letters, the typical recruiting thing, that it just made me fall in love with Penn State. So I don't think that would have influenced my decision to not come here.
Tyler Donahue, Lions 247.
Trent, looking back on that cornerback room you just left, they brought in 4 freshmen last year. We saw a lot of 2 of them with Marquise and Ellis, but not as much of Daquan and Joey. Can you give us a review of what that group did to the cornerback room when they arrived, and what you think the future holds for that group, specifically if you think anyone's on the verge of maybe a breakout year?
What I think of that room is that they're all my guys. And obviously when those 4 guys came in, it kind of changed the dynamic. It didn't change the dynamic of the quarterback room. It changed the age difference in what we were, all of us were pretty much young guys at that point, and there was only 2 guys in the room, which were Tariq and Don, who were the oldest in there, both being seniors, Don a redshirt junior. So it kind of changed that whole dynamic. All of us were young, except for Tariq and Donovan, And I hope that since those guys had that year to kind of watch and see and kind of grow together, I think that they'll be doing pretty good things next year. I think they know how the system is going on now. I think they know how it works. So they should be able to adjust to it now and be able to definitely showcase their skills on the field next year.
If I can just follow up real quick, Greg and Trent, you mentioned, we heard mention from Tariq that Daquan Hardy behind the scenes has really turned a lot of heads during air conditioning on the scout team last year. Can you kind of give us some insight on him? Because he's the one out of those 4 that we didn't really get a chance to see much of last fall.
Yeah, Daquan was kind of. I told him this a couple of days ago. He was kind of a quiet guy. That's really been coming out of his shell lately, and he's really been showcasing what he's got and what he's going to be able to offer Penn State next year. And from what I've seen, it's actually been pretty good work. So I'm actually really, really excited to see about him on the field next year to see what he can do. He didn't get that opportunity last year, but definitely this year I can see him playing on the field, getting some time.
Peter Terpstra, WTAJ.
Hey, how proud is your family of you? It seems like you've been able to continue a tradition with your dad and your grandfather of being able to play big time college sports.
Mm-hmm. So my family is very, very, very proud of me. They tell me that every time that I talk to them, they're so proud of what I've accomplished. They're so proud of what I can do, and they're only hoping for the best for me in the future. If I were, hopefully that I do go to the NFL after college, I'm going to be the first person to actually make it in my family. So they're pretty much 110 behind me, root for me the entire way. So they never fail to tell me that they're super, super proud of me, especially being at Penn State.
Vice Wilborn, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette.
I was listening to what you said about your grandfather earlier and his history at Oklahoma State and everything. When you look at what he went through, do you see any parallels to what's going on in our society now? Do you kind of feel like even more of a obligation to kind of stand tall through everything?
Parallels, I do definitely see them, in our society today, which upsets me, and especially is why I spoke about it, on Twitter. I wasn't liking all of the injustices that was happening, especially towards Black people. It's just something that we've dealt with for years and something that we wanted to stop. And so far, we're kind of stagnant in our change, but hopefully that it continues to go our way, and it doesn't mean that Black Lives Matter is not all lives matter. Black Lives Matter is pretty much saying that we want equality for all, and so that's just something that I kind of hold with me, and I continue to cherish now. I'm still fighting for it, and hopefully, the equality can be amongst everybody in the near future. So, yeah.
John Sauber with the Center Daily Times.
Trent, what was sort of the hardest part about the position switch? Because it seems like most of it was relatively easy to you, but was there anything that changed from sort of high school safety to college safety that you weren't expecting?
Actually, yes. So as a high school safety, it's just, high school football. You get out there and you do what you're told. It's nothing to it, really, but to do it. But for college, it's something a lot deeper. You have to legitimately keep your head on a swivel. There's so many levels to playing safety on the field that it's actually a little overwhelming at times, which is something that I've got to deal with, and now pretty much having to know how the defense should be lined up, what everybody should be doing on the certain play call that we call, and then just the pressure of everything. That was kind of the hardest part for me, and it's going to be for me next year as well. So that's just something that I've been dealing with, and it's easier the more that I deal with it. So I don't think that I should be having any problems with the transition from safety to corner anytime soon. Seriously.
All right, we got time for a few more. Audrey Snyder, The Athletic.
Trent, you mentioned the Black Lives Matter movement and the importance of that. College athletes right now have more leverage, arguably, than they ever had. How do you guys try and keep that momentum and keep that going, perhaps if there is a season, right? Like, have you guys talked about things that maybe you can or want to do to try and inspire change that way?
So yeah, pretty much what we've been doing recently is we have discussions amongst each other during the team meetings that we had, not team meetings, but we have like social discussions. So Penn State is allowing us to continue talking about those types of issues. And I really appreciate it. I necessarily haven't been to one of them, but I do hear about what is going on in those discussions. And I hope to attend one Sunday, but I've always, been busy at night, talking to my family during those discussions. So I'm never on them. But definitely it just helps with all the allies that we have on the team that speak up about those issues, So continuously we talk about it, especially the conversation that I have in my house, with my teammates. We definitely have them, especially since our house is divided, We have Black people and white people in my house. So we definitely talk about those issues, and the allies that I have are very sensitive to those. So they love to talk about it with us. And we just pretty much just talk about it as a team. So we know that this issue just never dies. So we just know that it's still alive.
Mark Wogenrich with SI.com.
Trent, after, I guess it's been 4 months now, what would it mean for you to actually be able to play football after all this? And what do you think a fall might look like if there is no football?
If there's football, then this would be amazing. Life can go back to the way it was, and there wouldn't be any difference except for my change from safety to corner. I just think, and I'm hoping that we do have a season. But, with all the protocols that are going to put in place, that have been put into place with COVID, we're just hoping that a season is alive for us, And can you actually elaborate on your question, please?
Yeah, the second part of that is, what do you think a fall would look like if there is no football?
If there's a fall with no football, I guess we would just be doing what we're doing now, which is having virtual meetings and making sure that we're still working out, keeping our bodies fit, keeping us lean, keeping us fast, and things like that. I don't think that it would be a change if there was no football in the fall. I just think we would be doing what we're doing now in the fall. And that kind of sucks for a lot of guys, especially the ones who have the aspirations of going to the NFL. We kind of need that film to send there. But, life just kind of happens, and I've just been taught to go with the flow for right now. So I just want to see what's going to happen because I don't have a legit answer.
Last question, Joe Giuliano, Philadelphia Inquirer.
Trent, in a related question, is that something you think about? Is it hard to keep that out of your head that, there may not be football as you continue your workouts and all?
I do, I think about that a lot. Nobody wants to be in school for 6+ years, and then on top of that, we want film for the NFL. Like I'm trying to make it. And so without there being a season, that kind of scares me, especially since I want to get out so bad, and I'm just praying that there's a season. I continuously talk with it every day, hey, do you think we're going to have a season, with the guys? And, we always say we don't know because we just don't have all the information. You never know what's going to happen with COVID. We find out something new every single week. So it's something that we definitely have in our heads all the time. Is there going to be a season? Is there going to be a season? Because that scares some of us to think that we possibly could not have one.